How do systems imprint danger into an individual's mind, which you would think that they would become a police officer for this noble desire to better their community? And not to say that that ever changes, but there's an idea, like you said, of what we have of cops and policing. And then there's this kind of, if you grew up in the 80s like I did, cop shows, Law and Order is still out there, SVU is still out there. And these movies, cops were these things that you actually wanted to aspire to be. How you go from that to, you know, my job is really dangerous, right? Maybe I didn't realize how dangerous this job actually was. And the system, as you say, kind of almost feeding that feeling.
For sure. Yeah, I think that a lot of officers do join with the best of intentions. They want to contribute to their communities. They believe in the need of providing safety. They believe that there are some people that are victims of crime and violence, and they want to protect people. And I think that's a very real thing. I'm not discounting that as a motivation for joining the police department at all. But it turns out that when you join the police academy, you are shown a different version. Now, to be clear, TV and movies emphasize the danger of policing all the time, right? Like how many gun battles have you seen in a police movie or a police show? And so I think that is actually in line with a lot of what the Academy's showing. It's just a little bit more graphic and it hits a little bit closer to home. And so one example from the book that I talk about is the most famous YouTube video that non-police have never heard of. And it's a YouTube video which details the gruesome murder of Deputy Kyle Dinkkeller in Georgia almost 30 years ago. In short, the video is used within police academies to underscore for new recruits just how dangerous their job is and the cost if they are unwilling or unable to use violence in defense of their own lives. And now I've talked about this video and I write about it in great detail in the book, and even just the description is pretty graphic. There's a reason I don't show the video in any talks that I give. Anyone that YouTubes it, please, like, huge content warning. It's incredibly graphic. But its graphic nature is precisely why it's used in police training. You hear an officer take their last breaths. You hear them screaming in terror as this driver shoots at them, hits them multiple times, comes around the side of the car, executes the officer. That is just one example that is used in police academies across the country to emphasize for officers just how dangerous their job is and how necessary it is for them to not think about their job in purely romantic terms of justice and honor and courage. And instead, like, your job is about survival. And all this other stuff, serving the community, all this other stuff around community policing and procedural justice, like, none of that matters when it comes to the moment of truth. And you need to understand that your job is about survival.
I was literally getting ready before you pointed out to that. You said that, movies and television shows do point out the violence of a police officer, but I would also say it kind of romanticizes it. And this video is a shell shock saying, no, this is what you're signing up for. This is the real. Isn't that a good thing? Isn't it a good thing to let these new recruits know, hey, what you saw in the TVs and movies, this romanticism of the violence of being a cop or detective or is okay, there's that. Here's the real. Isn't that a good thing to kind of shock these people out of that romanticized idea of what policing is?
So the word real is really important here. So it is certainly true. Deputy Dinkkeller was murdered on the side of that road, and other officers have been murdered and will continue to be murdered in various contexts in the course of their work. What we're talking about, though, is how much emphasis you put on that. And so if this is a video that is sometimes shown on the first or second day of the academy, and it is continually referenced, and other videos of this are shown. And so one thing that I talk about in the book is that it's not that these things don't happen. It's that the perceived probability of these catastrophic things happening is amplified again and again and again and again. So even if I restrict the number of videos that I show to, let's call it 10 videos of an officer being murdered in a traffic stop or at a domestic violence call, I have now shown you probably 9 to 10 more examples of an officer being killed than will happen in your entire career. So there is something in your department, to be clear, not across the entire country.
Right.
So it is important to show officers that this is something that happens. I think that where we begin to go into dangerous territory, no pun intended, is when we teach officers that this is something that needs to be in the back of your mind during all interactions, because no interaction is safe and anybody might choose to harm you at any moment. I think that that is something that is not really considered all that often in the context of police training and policy, is that what are the unintended consequences of emphasizing for recruits and for officers once they've graduated that any call might be their last.
If you like that clip, go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to catch up on all of our latest content. Don't forget to hit the notification button when you do subscribe so you can get updated every time we release content. We release content every day, whether it's an actual show or clips from the shows. So go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Also, don't forget our Patreon page where you can find our Talking Straight-ish and After Hours Uncensored episodes. That's patreon.com/unsolicited perspectives. But once again, thank you again for listening to Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, and I'm going to catch you next time. I'll holla.